Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jack and Joe show. This should be an interesting one. Jack, how are you doing? Firstly, loving the t-shirt. Secondly, what time did you get home this morning?
Well, two narratives for you there. This is retro Pingu, as I was a
Sensational.
huge Pingu fan when I was younger, and I managed to find it through lockdown. 22-year-old man at the time. You can ask questions of that if you like. I did get home at 5:30 this morning. Christ alive! I was on the club coach. A lot of traffic. We got back to Motspur at 4:30. I thought I'm not paying for an Uber because it was a lot of money to get home, even though it's not that far. So I went on a little walk to Rains Park and got the first train of the day back to Wimbledon. And
Lovely.
crikey, it's been some day today. Rest and recover, probably recovering more than the players were last night. Players are today from last night. But Joe, an interesting game, and let's get into it.
Yeah, a really weird one, because I think what we should start this with is a positive, and it was another, in my opinion, very good performance from Fulham. We're going to a very tough place where we've actually had a decent record semi-recently. Obviously got 2 wins there in quite recent memory, the last of which being in lockdown and the one before that being at a sort of similar time of year, a midweek game. We won 1-0, Skirt alone goal. And on another day, it could have gone exactly like that last night, where it was quite an early cross and Van Dijk managed to sort of steer it out for a corner instead. That's what I was thinking when that happened. We've obviously lost the game 1-0. On another day, we probably could have edged it. On another day, we certainly could have drawn it. And the main talking point, which we're going to get into, I think, straight away, because it's basically the main talking point from the game and the main talking point from last night, other than Haaland breaking the Premier League goals record, is that we lost to a penalty that shouldn't have been a penalty. And I was saying to you before we started that my head was on absolute Saturn last night, potentially Uranus. It was just awful. My head was gone. Meaningless game, but just I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I want to start it off by saying that it was silly from Diop to let the ball run across him. It was just poor decision making. That being said, he missed the ball, yes. He also missed Darwin Nunez. He simply missed both. And it therefore wasn't a penalty. In real time, I was thinking ridiculous defending, dead cert penalty, just because you thought, how could he have missed him? So I completely actually understand why Stuart Atwell gave it. My issue is purely with VAR. And I don't get how you can have a look at that, various angles, and deem it not a clear and obvious error. I know, Jack, from where the away end's positioned at Anfield, you're the complete wrong side. You won't have been able to see in real time. What was your reaction when you saw the video footage? When did you see it? Did you see it during the game, potentially half-time? Because it seems like Stuart Atwell did, considering the fact that he told Tom Kearney, or at least one of the Fulham players, that, sorry, we got that one wrong. So it doesn't really cut it, mate. God. I mean, it's not a ghost goal, but it's an absolute shocker.
This is the top division of English football. England is a country that prides itself on football and the invention of the game, and yet we're still here in this league talking about issues like this. It's nonsense. A new Darwin's theory came up last night. If there's a attempt to play the man go down regardless of any contact. Joe, I actually missed the actual incident in real time.
You're lucky.
I was walking. I was letting someone walk past me to go to the concourse. It's actually a really nice guy called Jack Ralph. I think watches the videos as well. So if you're watching, hello again. We were just chatting away. And then suddenly you hear this big old cry and then a cheer and you go, ah. And then Joe Ryan, who's next to us, very good friend Joe Ryan, he says, that's never a penalty in a million years. And I go, okay, well, let's just see. And because I haven't seen it, I'm not expecting it to be overturned or anything. Then we get in the concourse at half time and have a little gander on our phones, and we are seething. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. We're still 10th. We're still fine. We're on 45 points. However, it's the principle of the Premier League. and next season where these decisions could cost us or could cost other teams and will cost other teams and still will do this season. It's just, it's so poor. And yeah, a lot of arguments been made. If it was down the other end, would it have been given? I'm saying no. Like, it wouldn't be given by the referee. I think because I mean, this comes up every week, really, the top six bias and whatever. And, we as fans are allowed to talk about official managers and players at the club. Obviously, I can't mention this sort of stuff, but do I think there's some sort of conspiracy? Probably not, but then they make it awfully hard for us not to argue that case as well. I mean, it's never a penalty in a million years. If this is Fulham away at Southampton, this isn't given.
Yeah. I think it's
firmly down that hill.
I think it's like an unconscious bias thing almost when you go to these grounds. Not that I expect. I mean, I wasn't there, but I don't imagine Liverpool was a particularly a scary place last night. I mean, the atmosphere is very much overhyped, but in terms of the history and almost the almost the assumption of what it will be like and how Liverpool are at home.
Prestige.
Exactly. And you have to just think back to a few days ago against Tottenham when goal scorer Diogo Jota should have been sent off. I mean, that's three games in a row now where Liverpool have had an extremely favourable decision against them. I'm not going to pretend. I've seen a few arguments on Twitter saying, Fulham never had one in their lives. I'm not saying that. I think the refereeing's poor across the board. I think we've had some where I don't think it's been right. It's been somewhere it's been soft.
I remember the against Bournemouth.
I think that the one against Villa, where Mitrovic only just scored it, was a little bit harsh due to the distance that Matty Cash was from whoever kicked it. I can't remember. Look, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the accumulation is too much to ignore. And in 3 games, Liverpool have had 3 decisions that have completely turned the game. West Ham away, injury time, clear as day penalty should have been against them. That could be 2 drop points. Jota sent off when it's, I think, 3-1 to Liverpool, but they were on the ropes. Should have been, potentially it was even 3-2. Goes on to score the winner. That's at least another 2 drop points. And then last night, we're completely in the game. We're pretty comfortable. Liverpool are having a few decent attacks, as are we. That penalty doesn't happen. The game is completely different. We don't know that it would have ended 0-0, but we do know that we wouldn't have been 1-0 down at the end of the first half. And that just quite simply changes the game. Let's move away from this slightly, because after that we did have chances to score. Vinicius's, where Alisson made a very good close range save after some wonderful play by Vinicius and Willian, it must be said, to make that chance. And Bobby Reid in injury time over the bar, really good chance again, but I think it's gone a little bit under the radar.
Huge chance.
Could have been 1-1. Disappointing result because I think the performance merited more. And when you factor in the refereeing decision costing us, it makes it one of the most frustrating games. If you just take it at face value, this one individual game, forget about any ramifications, the most frustrating of the season, potentially, other than potentially City away, where, it was the last minute of the game. Thing is,
there's a theme here, isn't there?
There's a theme here. Look at where we're playing, look at who we're playing against, and just think, would that have happened if it was down the other end? Because, Jack, we haven't spoken since City at home. And first minute of the game is a penalty, in my opinion, for City. It's a penalty.
75th-ish
minute of the game, we have one. And now here's my thinking here. Bobby Reid goes down. I don't think this is a penalty in a million years. I really strongly disagree that it is. At the time, yes, I'm up in arms thinking, I've seen the replay. I don't think it's a penalty. I don't. I think Bobby Reid fouls Walker first. I think that, if anything, it should have been a free kick the other way. Walker does go a bit back, but it's all a bit 50-50. So I don't think it's a penalty. If that's down the other end, and that is Anthony Robinson holding Haaland, or at least trying to, because he's an absolute monster.
Alvarez, maybe.
Maybe Alvarez, yeah, that's more realistic. I think that's given. I think that's given as a penalty. And that's the problem I have. I don't have a problem with that not being given. I don't have a problem with the penalty in the first minute being given. I think it's a penalty. My problem is, if that's a Fulham player, I'm not sure it's given. And if that's a City player, I think the second one is given. And then you look at last night's game, and if it's down the other end, I don't think it's given. I think that if it is by Stuart Atwell, Tony Harrington in his stupid VAR box somewhere in the middle of nowhere
Stockley Park
does overturn it. He does overturn it 100%. And it's not even a talking point because, yes, it was a mistake. In real time, it looked like one. And that's what does grind my gears.
Stuart Atwell's so far away from the action as well. So he's very much inclined to be making a clear and obvious error, given the nature of how far he is. Tony Harrington then should be like, I think you may have made an error here. You're quite far away. There actually isn't any contact. No penalty.
By the way,
I don't
Tony
get
Harrington does not have to completely overrule it. Tony Harrington can simply send him to the monitor for a closer look. That being said, he shouldn't have sent him to the monitor. He should have just said, no, there wasn't any contact. But as a sort of negotiation, yes, he can send him to the monitor.
It's lazy. It's lazy refereeing as well. And I said this a couple of years ago when that Cavani goal went in against us. It's like it's the end of the season, so they don't really need to check, and there's nothing really riding on the game.
Yeah.
Bloody hell, man. It's just so stupid. However, I have to say, I thought the performance was really good.
Yep.
Really encouraged with Vinicius' performance.
Really good last two games.
Not quite to the extent where someone tweeted that when Mitrovic comes back, does he actually get back in the team?
Oh, dearie me. Get me off this planet. Because that is ridiculous. About 2 games ago against Aston Villa, people were literally asking him to play for Blythe Spartans on loan. It was like no one wanted him involved. Like, don't get me wrong, he's been great these last 2 games. Mitrovic is a different animal. He is.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to come back against Saints. Although, how on earth are we going to get there with another train strike?
I know, and this is a wonderful segue, Jack, because it's our last game without Mitrovic on Bank Holiday Monday. We're playing Leicester. It's a huge game for them, as they all are for anyone down there at the moment. They'll see that as 2 points dropped against Everton, considering they could have gone 3-1 up with a penalty. Wonderful game of football that was, really entertaining. This is a huge game for them. And what I took from that game against Everton on Monday Night Football was they can cause us problems in attack. They've got some very good attacking players. What I also took from that game was they are garbage at the back. And I really think we can score a few against them. I thought they were so open, as were Everton. And we saw the problems that we could cause them. So, Jack, firstly, what are you expecting from Leicester? How would you deal with it in terms of team selection? There were 5 changes made last night. What are you looking to change from that? And then what is your score prediction for the game?
First of all, it's worth noting, I briefly mentioned it on the quick take, but the injuries to Andres Pereira and Tim Ream, very sad.
Yes.
Very, very sad. And hopefully they're back for the preseason tour in America. For Ream's sake, definitely. And obviously Pereira, that's slightly more serious. And I do wonder whether that will happen. However, it will force our hand in the market, which will make things interesting. We'll talk about that later stage. Anyway, let's get on to Leicester. I thought the Leicester versus Everton game was a classic relegation ding dong. And it was a very good watch. Very good watch. You're right. I think Jamie Vardy is crucial for them for the remaining games of the season. You even saw that sort of blistering pace. He gets in behind, he goes around the keeper and makes it 2-1. Maddison, despite missing a penalty, played very, very well, and he's always a creative player. Harvey Barnes. I mean, that attacking 3 they've got is ridiculously good. And then Wilfred Ndidi sitting in midfield, Sumare as well. They got Dewsbury Hall, who I think may have been on the bench that night. I mean,
Tielemans, there's some great players there. Great players.
Even Soyuncu is obviously off to Atletico Madrid this summer. But yeah, they were poor at the back. I thought it was just 2 bad teams playing against each other basically, and that made for an open game. However, I look at our players and look at the likes of Willian. So in terms of a lineup, let's do a lineup. Leno in goal. I'd bring Tete back. I'm not really sure why Suarez played last night. I thought he did okay, but actually a couple of wayward crosses that went straight out, and overall he defended better than he was going forward. Tosin and Diop obviously have to play now, which is fine. So centre backs, Robinson, who was brilliant last night, left back. Oh, this gets tricky again, actually. I didn't quite like the fact we benched Harrison Reed. I always like him starting. It fills me a bit of comfort. So I actually bring Harrison Reed back into the fold and play Tom Kearney again, I think. Tom Kearney, and I don't think Lukic did necessarily anything too wrong last night. I thought he was all right, but I would bring Harrison Reed back in, Paulinia and TC. Oh, and then front three, I think Vinicius deserves to start again, definitely. Willian and I didn't like Solomon's body language last night at all, actually, after the game.
Yeah.
It was very strange. Didn't clap the fans. He came over to the fans, didn't clap the fans. And then it looked like he was giving his shirt to someone who had an Israeli flag in the crowd, and then didn't, and then walked away. And I was just like, what is going on there? I do wonder what's going on there.
The Solomon one is playing on the back of my mind a bit. It's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah.
I tweeted and I got a couple of people disagreeing with me on it, but I don't think it can actually be argued that since that run of games, which is fantastic, he's been poor in every single cameo he's had, in my opinion. And I appreciate some of them have been very, very brief and hard to make an impact on the game. But I agree with you. I think the body language in the last few games has been a bit
Strange.
seemed a bit frustrating and a little bit lazy at times, especially defensively. And I don't like that at all. And there's a great point made on Twitter last night that we're chasing a game at Anfield. Silva has picked Cabano to come on before Solomon. Cabano, who's just come back from an injury. I don't think Silva is the biggest fan of Solomon. And I think that was proven where he was quite reluctant to start him, even during that really sort of purple patch of goal scoring. Jack, I think the only player you didn't mention was your right winger. You had Willian and Vinicius. Who would you go with?
Over Reed.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. What about you? What would you go with?
I think I agree with the whole lineup, and then I'd probably still go with Wilson on the right wing.
I just forgot about Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of wingers. We have a lot of wingers.
It's hard to keep track sometimes.
I agree with the team. Other than that, it was great to see Willian back last night. Lukic, I thought did fine. TC's the more slightly attacking option, so I'd go with him. Harrison Reed back in. I think Tete was dropped last night just due to the fact that we've got 3 games in a week and maybe wanting to mix it up a bit. And I thought Cedric did fine. Defensively, he's sound going forward. Maybe leaves a little bit to be desired, but he's a defender first, and I thought we did a good job last night. So I agree with the team. The bench, it was good to see Luke Harris involved. It would be great to see if we have a bit of a cushion at any point over any of these remaining 4 games. In particular, probably the next 3 on paper, you're thinking, at some point we might be 2 goals up, 3 goals up, I hope. It'd be great to see Luke Harris get a bit of action. Especially seeing as we are safe. We're quite secure in our league position in terms of I don't see us dropping too much. Hopefully we don't drop at all and stay at least 10th. Score prediction. I mean, I think that Leicester are fighting for their lives and I think they will cause us issues and I think they will score. I think that we will have too much for them. So I think that we'll win this one 2-1, but I think it will be a very tricky game based on the fact that this is a Leicester side that need results to stay up now. There's no ifs, no buts. They have to get results. And I think we'll edge it 2-1.
I don't know. You look at the teams we played recently who've been down there. An Everton team who are really, really, I was about to say, well, they're just really poor. Yeah. A Leeds team who were diabolical. Allardyce back in the Premier League is just mind-blowing, but quite funny at the same time. I expect more from this Leicester team. I think they'll be not buoyant from Monday night because they were 2-1 up and should have gone 3-1 up and didn't win the game. But I think there's something in that team. I just think they will survive.
Yeah.
I think it'll be 1-1. I think we'll take the lead and I think they'll equalise and they'll push for a winner, but not quite get there. And I don't, obviously I want to win the game. But yeah, I think that's it. It's worth noting that last night we had 2 ex-Fulham players on the bench in Harvey Elliott and Fabio Carvalho. Elliott came over and got a lot of stick. Fair enough, I suppose. And then Carvalho came over and I went, oh, this is going to be interesting. He got a good reception. And I was explaining to Joe next to me, I say, look, Fabio Carvalho did quite a lot for us. He actually contributed towards a promotion season, scored a lot of goals, assists, and okay, blinded by the lights of Liverpool hasn't worked out, fair enough. Whereas Harvey Elliott played 2 games off the bench for us and then, left at the first chance he basically got, albeit he's thriving, I'd say, for Liverpool.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
he was lapping up the abuse he was getting. Fabio was a lot more humble. And I do wonder, but actually last night I did read that he might be involved in the McAllister deal with Brighton.
I think that makes perfect sense, by the way, if McAllister is going to Brighton to fill that void with a creative player that needs first team Premier League football. Brighton also might be in Europe next season. They need bodies. But yeah, that was interesting, like you say, Jack. I mean, I would argue that they both left at the first chance they got.
True.
One of them left after getting us a promotion and being an integral part of it. The other just never really got started at the club. But I think his other actions, which we won't really talk about, but maybe on social media and stuff, when he was a bit younger, admittedly, sort of leaves a sour taste for everyone involved.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Carvalho, off the pitch, I've always seen seems a great person. I don't like that he left us like that. And he left us basically in January, let's face it, that was the intention. So they both leave a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, but certainly Elliott more so. It will be really interesting to see what happens with Carvalho in the summer. It's fair to say this has been a complete wasted year of his career. I don't care that he's training with good players. He'd been training with good players at Fulham. He has probably and playing. He's probably regressed slightly, not much. Don't get me wrong. He's still young as a footballer this season, purely based on the fact that he's playing less football. His link up with Mitrovic was sensational. It would have been really interesting to see how that would have translated into the Premier League. I'm delighted that we signed Pereira because I think that he actually offers more to us as a team overall, just purely through his set pieces and the amount of goals that he's got us. But there's a part of me that really wonders how we'd be doing and how different it would be if Carvalho was filling that number 10 role. I don't know if we'd be better or worse off. I really can't make up my mind. I think Carvalho would offer more through open play, but nowhere near as much as Pereira through his set piece deliveries. And I'd argue defensive work rate as well. So really interesting point you make there, Jack. And I'd almost forgotten about those two. So thanks for bringing it up because everything else has sort of been pushed away after the penalty sort of decision and everything that's come off the back of that. But we have got a big game on Monday, and we've only got 4 games left now. We've got 3 which are really, really winnable on paper in Leicester, Southampton and Crystal Palace. And we then have a very interesting game last day of the season at Old Trafford where it's all just coming back to that FA Cup game, isn't it, really? And they haven't announced the referee for that one yet. I think I know who it won't be.
Could you imagine? I'm going to get the heaviest, biggest dose of PTSD in that away end on final day. I don't know whether to work. I think I'm going to go in the crowd for it, actually. It should be fun. Courtyard and all that. So actually those 3 games up and coming were those 3 games we picked up those 9 points post World Cup, which basically went, that's it, we're home and dry. A team who's not home and dry is Chelsea. They're a disgrace at the moment, but we won't get into that now. Joe, one last thing left to say. It was your Twitter that I saw that quote from TC about, which is astounding of the arrogance of the referee to say that after the communication he has with Stockley Park. And also, I just wanted to make the point that I don't know what it is. Something about Tom Cairney starting Premier League games at stadiums like Anfield or even in general just warms my heart. He's so good. Because obviously he's played this role this season where he's come off the bench, and obviously he's done really well when he's done that. But he's just such a phenomenal player. The way he keeps the ball, that keeps us ticking. And he just loves being at Fulham. And I feel like this season we haven't spoke about Cairney at all because he just hasn't played much of a role. Well, he has played much of a role, but not from a starting position, as I said. Goodness me, I love him so much. What a player. Player.
The only downside of him starting is that he's only just going to miss out on that record of the most sub appearances in the season. I think he was about 3 away from it, which would have been would have worked out perfectly. That being said, it's wonderful to see him captain the side and take us out like last night. I thought he played well. I think there's things that he does that Pereira can't do. I think there's also things that Pereira does that Kearney certainly can't do as well. I think he just offers us a very different style in terms of our midfield. He's far more focused on ball retention, whereas Pereira's a bit more direct, I would say.
Yeah.
And they're both perfect for different games. And I think that where Kearney really can thrive is in home games against teams that are going to sit back a bit more. And, the next few, maybe one of them is not at home in Southampton, I think we're going to have a lot of the ball, and someone like Kearney that can just sort of break the lines with a pass is perfect. And it'll be wonderful to see him have some action, because until last night, the only game he'd started this season was at home to Manchester United when Harrison Reed was suspended. And it almost showed the best and the worst of Kearney in that game, didn't it? Because he lost the ball for United's first goal, and then he set up our equaliser. And, that's sort of what you get with Kearney. Maybe defensively, he's not the best, although I think he's been quite impressive last two games, especially in that City second half when he came on, putting in a lot more tackles than you expect from him normally. But in terms of going forward, he's a sensational footballer and he's lovely to watch.
There's a fly just buzzing around. Why don't you just go outside?
Breaking Bad vibes. We could do a really weird episode of this and just focus on the fly.
Could you imagine?
I think that would be absolutely terrible viewing.
Contamination to the Jack and Joe show.
Yeah. We're not even in the same room. So one of us would have a fly and the other one just would be pretending. It'd just be very awkward.
One thing I'm really looking forward to, it's in a couple of weeks' time, will be that lap of honour that we do after the Crystal Palace game. I feel like that will be the most feel-good lap of honour in year. Obviously, we won the title whatever last season, but that's kind of different. But in terms of an end of a season lap of honour, it's going to be very, very good. But anyway, we're going on. We can talk about that when we play Palace. Joe, thanks so much for being here. It's been an interesting one.
Yeah, it's been sensational, Jack. I've cleared my head. I'm back in this galaxy. Well, I was in this galaxy. I was just on a different planet.
Earth.
Back on planet Earth, back rooted in the fact that we're 10th and things are fine. But it's just frustrating. And I think that most fans of clubs that maybe aren't Man City or Liverpool or Man United will resonate with what we were feeling last night.
Well, you can name 3 more clubs in that.
Well, there you go. Yeah, and actually, quite recently, the Brighton versus Tottenham game is the perfect example. But let's not get away from the fact that we performed very well at a tough place to go, and by that I mean Liverpool were in really good form before that, with 4 wins already in a row, and we've probably given them the toughest game out of the entirety of those. And let's take this on to a tough game against Leicester, but one that we should hopefully get a result in.
Just very finally, it's the fact that last night's game wasn't the televised game. Yeah. It was the Man City game. Therefore, this thing isn't going to be made very big. Oh, no one really saw the game. No one really just saw the 3-minute highlights, and no one really made a deal of it then on the highlights and the commentary. So it feels like we're already taking a step back in terms of our plea for justice on this. No one really cares because it's Fulham as well. So there's that, and it's just a game that didn't really affect much in the table as well. So very frustrating, but also 2 more things. If you want to subscribe to the Telegram, the link is in the description. It's a group chat where we send in all our thoughts and feelings and transfers, rumours, and there's an away days chat about pubs and tickets and trains and stuff like that.
And the transfers one is really going to be getting a lot of use over the next few weeks and months. So that would be very good.
Yeah, Joe Sansom's very, very good on that sort of thing, definitely. And finally, can't quite remember. Oh yes, the Half Moon Pub. We're doing a live podcast after the Leicester game. Tickets are £9. I actually don't know if they're sold out or not. If they are, I apologise. If they're not, then grab yourself one. Half Moon Pub in Putney after the Leicester game. Kick off at 6 p.m. I think I might be there. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. I'm not the star of the show. Obviously, Sammy and everyone will be on the panel. And there we go. Thanks very much for being here, Joe.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Thanks everyone for watching. Enjoy your bank holiday weekend. Enjoy the game against Leicester. Come on, you Watts.
Cannot wait for the coronation of the king. No, not King Charles. It's Carlos Vinicius. Come on, Fulham.